Pacers lose in Minnesota. They are now 0-3. This was much better. They were very close, but close does not count. They're 0-3. They need to win. They need to figure something out. We'll talk precedent of 0-3, what they can do. Do they need to make a move, and so much more on today's Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend, and welcome into another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers. As always, my name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes, and today I am back home for my escape to Memphis. The Pacers played another game in Minnesota, falling to the Timberwolves very close to their first win. What went wrong in that game? What's going wrong for this now 0-3 team? 0-3 for the first time in 7 years. They've been 0-4 since the 1980s. Can they get over this? What do they need to make a move because another injury happened in this game? Who needs to be better? Is it all health related again? And it's going to be a theme this show, so I have to say this now. So much of this team right now is just me shrugging. It's so hard to know what's going on, what to evaluate, what not to evaluate, where you're wasting your time. When they started in this game, starting lineup with point Pascal, Siakam. It was Siakam, Shepard, Nesmith, Huff, and Jackson. Those five, plus a bench of Obi Toppin, Jarris Walker, Ray J. Dennis, Quentin Jackson, Tony Bradley, and James Wiseman were the only available players for the Pacers at all in this game, because 4 of their 11 were centers. And I'm guessing, I don't know this, but I'm guessing Quentin Jackson was not like a full relaunch level of player, considering he played less than 10 minutes and Ray J. Dennis tripled his minutes. They really were limited in their options when 4 of basically their 10 mostly healthy players were centers. They tried to start 2 together. It actually kind of worked. It wasn't like awful. I'm not saying Huff and Jackson were spectacular or anything, but it got them enough minutes on the floor to make a rotation that made sense. And then they lost Obi Toppin. So there's a lot to talk about from this game. The injuries continue to cloud it. And one more thing is my normal mic, which should be back tomorrow, is like just straight up not working. It kept cutting out. I kept trying to record this. The cord is all messed up. So different mic today, but the new camera setup should stick. There should be no more wobble on the top of the computer for those of you who watch on YouTube. Okay, that's a lot of intro. Let's talk about what just happened in Minnesota. Wolves win 114-110 over the Pacers, the site of last year's game where the Pacers shorthanded group was able to win in somewhat miraculous fashion. This year they were very close, winning very often in this game in the third quarter. 13 lead changes, 14 ties. Pacers got it to within a possession in the fourth quarter, but did not ever have the ball down one possession. That was the difference. Shepard making a free throw to get it to 3. Rudy Gobert dunk on the other end. And the Pacers never got another chance to cut it to 2 with the ball. Siakam gets it to 2 with 42 seconds left. Jaden McDaniels with a finger roll on the other end after Julius Randle ran through Pascal Siakam. And that was game. So they were very close. Like they had chances to take the lead. They were winning often. No Anthony Edwards after he only played 3 minutes. I'm rambling too much about stuff that's not why the Pacers lost, because this one is really interesting. Usually in a game like this, it's so easy to point to this thing, that thing. They were so bad at this. They were so good at this, whatever, as the reason they lost. This game was very even in a lot of ways. Pacers shot 43%. Wolves shot 46%. You might say that's the difference right there. And the possession battle was pretty close too, 14-16 in turnovers. Rebounding was 49-48 in favor of the Pacers. Free throw percentage, pretty close to even. Pacers shot better from 3, right? All this stuff kind of offsets in a way that's very close. You check a lot of the big indicators. You might say, oh, the Pacers dominated the second chance points, 21-13, and the fast break points, 23-7. But the Wolves are on the points in the paint, 54-48. You could go through all these things and go, where on earth did the Wolves get an advantage? And the answer is that they really didn't. There wasn't one thing in this game that watching, and I thought, man, that one thing is really hurting the Pacers, whether that's turnover margin, rebounding margin, this or that. Really, this was a couple things. But they all sum up to this. This is when you are this hurt as the Pacers are, right? I mentioned they had 11 available players. Toppin got hurt mid-game. We'll talk about that later. So they had 10, 8 guys out, like a good team of guys just on the bench, unavailable. Your margin for error is impossibly small when that's the case, right? Like this is the second game this season, this game and the OKC game. They lost both. And, you know, there are no moral victories in the NBA, but they lost both of those games. And I think they could walk away going, with what we had as the Pacers, we feel good about that game. right? They battled like crazy with guys in unique roles. That happened again today. But their margin for error is so small that anything that happens repeatedly, that even if it's not necessarily a bad thing, like on one possession, if it keeps happening, becomes a problem, stacks up to a big thing. In this game, that was Julius Randle, just in general, right? Julius Randle was fantastic. After Anthony Edwards left the game with his injury, again, he only played 3 minutes, and he was good in those 3 minutes. The Wolves said, okay, let's turn to Randle, right? They don't have quite the point guard pop in terms of shot creation. They start DiVincenzo now. He's definitely more of a finisher. Mike Conley off the bench, he had 4 assists, I guess. They didn't get a ton from their younger guards, Bones Hyland or Terrence Shannon. It was the Julius Randle show, and he was fantastic. 18 shot attempts. He made 11. He made some tough shots in the first half. He drew fouls and took 10 free throws. He had 6 assists, 31 points for Julius Randle. And Siakam was better than him. We will get to Pascal Siakam. But Julius Randle was awesome. And in the first half, he was even better in this game. And I thought one thing, because in the second half, he really spread out his scoring. Some in the third, some in the fourth, whatever. It felt like in the first half, the Pacers were too slow to adjust to his dominance, right? To either get into his chest to make it hard for him to use his like bullying strength with speed already, or to just double him, right? Who cares if someone else finally gets going? No one could make a thing for Minnesota from deep throughout this game. Right? Minnesota shot 30% from long range. Only Dante DiVincenzo made multiple threes for the Wolves in this game. I think the Pacers were a little slow getting to defending Randle in a different way, right? He was killing them with tough fadeaways. And I put that down in my notes, and I thought that's going to come off wrong. Like saying Julius Randle made tough fadeaways is not a knock. He's good at that, right? That's a shot that he has mastered in a way that few guys can take it. He shot 10 for 14 on twos in this game, right? That's a skill that Julius Randle has. That was one little thing that, like, yes, he can do that. It added up to a big thing. Number 2, volume of threes. The Pacers end up taking 40. They take more than Minnesota. They made 4 more. That kept them in the game. But Minnesota made a bunch early, and that cushion really mattered because they had, even in their down stretches, they were never down by more than, let's say, actually 5. We know the Pacers' biggest lead was 5. That stretch coming early, their biggest lead of the game was 11, but they were up 9 in like 3 minutes because they made 3 threes right away. If that didn't happen, if those were more spread out over the game, you wonder how the game flow completely changes, right? I literally put the Pacers in trouble because they're shooting so well early. The first 5 minutes of this game was the worst I'd felt the Pacers defense basically all season. It was only 5 minutes of the game, right? 5 minutes into this game, Pacers had taken a timeout, made some subs already. Ray J. Dennis came in and played quite well. 5 minutes in, it was 19-10 Wolves. The Wolves won this game by 4, right? Like if giving up 19 points in less than 5 minutes, yeah, that happens sometimes. You play bad defense for 5 minutes. But then if you play well the rest of the game and then lose by 4, you look back and go, dang, if we started better on defense, things would have been better. And some of it was poor defense, and some of it was this new starting lineup that made some sense given the situation they were in. And some of it was they're playing a lot of transition defense because it was harder to score with that lineup early in the game, right? Like, what are you expecting with no offense? Again, I understood why they did it. They've determined that if they're going to play multiple centers together, Jay Huff has to be one of them. He can shoot. Got it. No problem. I get it. But if you're going to do that, you have to do it with an actual setup point guard. They don't really have one. Ray J. Dennis is the closest thing they have to it. They tried it with Siakam in both halves. Siakam had 8 assists. Pascal Siakam, again, was absolutely spectacular in his 36 and a half minutes today. Ray J. Dennis was pretty good. He had 5 assists himself. But when you don't put the point guard with those 2 bigs and you're making 2 finishers be in situations where it's harder to finish, you're going to have some ugly possessions. A small blip of poor play early, you go down 9 and you lose by 4. Like, all these little things added up for the Pacers. And they had ended up with 16 turnovers. For a while, they were getting smoked in the turnover battle and ended up at 16-14. That with the rebounding basically was an even possession battle game. But the Pacers' turnovers in the first half were no alibi levels of ugly. I mean, all over the gym. What was that kind of stuff? And that is one that, unlike some of these other things, I have a hard time actually kind of analyzing the turnovers for this team when some of them are just stuff that is clear, like disconnection. They had 11 turnovers in the first half. The Wolves had 7. Where a guy sees his teammate and he thinks he knows how to, get into the action or get him the ball in a cut or whatever it is. And then that player's doing something else and the ball just kind of trickles out of bounds. And they both kind of stand there and look at each other like, those are like chemistry turnovers. Not surprising at all for a team that's super injured and is playing all these new lineups. So you look at these things as they happen. Julius Randle making shots that he's amazing at. He used to be an all-star. He's been an all-star twice. And you're like, dang, they should have defended him differently earlier. But like Julius Randle's really good. A couple sloppy turnovers from disconnection in the first half. Poor defense with a lineup that's never played together. A new starting five, right? All these things that are like, yeah, you get it. You understand it, given where the Pacers are. They're not an individually like huge problem. But in this game that ended up so close for the Pacers getting their first win, they were big things because they were the difference in the game. So many things in the box score are so close. They made the same number of shots tonight. Wolves made 8 more free throws. Pacers made 4 more threes, right? Turnovers, possession battle was close. All these intangibles really close. The difference was those little things. The Wolves were just a little bit better, a little more disciplined, a little more experienced. And this is rich to say because Anthony Edwards was out, but guess what? There's a volume of injuries, things to say, a little healthier. And that was the difference. It continues to suck to say that. I wish I had more like, they've got to be better at this thing. It costs them in every quarter, and it's been a problem the whole time. Yeah, they've had problems this season. They're 0-3. But it's so hard to figure out and separate what is actually, Pacers bad, execution bad. They've got to figure out how to play better in this way versus actual injuries causing these problems or causing the lineup to have problems. It's really challenging. They're 0-3. Where does 0-3 actually put them? Is this a huge concern, a minor concern? It's so early in the season. They're so close to not being 0-3. What's the right reaction level to this? I talked about this a little after the Memphis game. I want to do it again today. It's coming up here on the Locked On Pacers podcast. But first, everybody, need to tell you about Monarch Money. Let's be honest, most of us cannot name all of our financial accounts, let alone what they're worth. Between 401k savings and investments, it is easy to lose track, and that can mean leaving money on the table. That's why many start using Monarch, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface right on your laptop or your phone. It's helped people organize their accounts, track their spending, get a better handle on their investments without having to touch a spreadsheet. You can review everything with a partner. You can see shared goals. You can make better financial decisions together. Monarch's visual dashboards and smart tools make it so much easier to understand where your money's going and how to make your money work harder for you. Do not let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarch.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarch.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off of your first year. We also have to talk about the lovely folks over at Game Time. Basketball season's here. Nothing beats being in the arena. Pacers at home Friday and Saturday this week. Golden State Warriors in town. Those opening games are a blast, but let's be real, getting tickets can be a headache. Between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout, it's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. That's where Game Time comes in. The app gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring. Amazing NBA tickets, fast, easy, and stress-free. You can grab seats for Pacers Hawks, Pacers Warriors, whatever. It's simple. You'll get your seats in minutes. You see what you pay. There's no hidden fees at the back. You can see what you're going to see in the arena. They have a great seat views feature. They have zone deals. Just pick your section. They'll suggest you good savings and the best seats. You can even find NBA tickets for under $25. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That code is LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. We're back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making us your first listen today and every single day. Your second listen, Locked On Wolves. Of course, to hear about the winning side of this, Ben Bekeen will break it down. Their home opener already a few days into the season. An interesting win for Wolves fans. Or actually, we'll do a different promo for the second listen in the second segment. Okay, the Pacers are 0-3. That's not good, right? There's no point of caveating like I'm about to. The record is their record. However, they're like 3 possessions from 2-1. And so many of you just heard that and rolled your eyes so hard. And you should. The record is what matters. But 2 made shots tonight in this game. Like Aaron Nesmith's 3 that rolls around the rim and bounces out. Jay Huff has a 3 bounce out. And to be clear, that happened to the Wolves too. I'm not saying this is unique to the Pacers. I'm just saying 2 possessions go differently against Minnesota and 1 goes differently against OKC. Or Rick Carlisle's tech free throw gets missed by the Thunder. Any number of things. 3 possessions is they could have 2 wins, right? They got smoked in Memphis. They were terrible that night. No doubt. They're much closer to winning than their record suggests. But the injuries are massively problematic. They're 0-3, and their schedule is super hard. They're in Dallas Wednesday. Dallas just won, I think, their first game earlier tonight. And then they play Atlanta, who has some nice wins. Golden State looks good, right? Talked about their schedule. They're 0-3. They have not been 0-4. I went back through every single season of their game log, and I don't think I missed it. But if you think I did, go look yourself and tell me the last time you think the Pacers are 0-4. I believe the answer is 1988-89 season. That year they won 28 games. They had 4 different head coaches, and they started 0-9 that season. Since then, they have not lost their first 4 games of a season, right? I'm not saying that to sound alarmist or doomist. The Pacers have a lot of good seasons in their franchise history. Them making the playoffs so often is like one of the things that makes their franchise special. They're going to go for it for their fans. They're going to win, and sometimes they're going to win a lot. But they haven't been bad to start a season in a while. They've had several 0-3 starts. And here's why I think it's the start of the season. All the information you have about the 2025-26 Indiana Pacers has been losing with limited teams. And so if you're going to project out, you're like, well, dang, it's over. It's over. It stinks. They stink. And we have no idea. I think everybody realizes how injured they are and is not saying that, to be clear, but it'd be easy to do that when you're 0-3. They're in between that 1988-89 season and today. They started a season 0-3 5 times. This year's number 6. Of those 5 times, 3 of them finished with winning records, and 4 of them were at least like credibly good records. In 2019-20, very recent, they started 0-3 and they finished 45-28. That was the bubble year, so they did not end up playing 82 games. I believe over an 82-game sample, a 45-28 record would actually be a 50-win team or a 51-win team, right? Like they were a good team that year. They won a lot of games. They started 0-3 that year. I think Vic was hurt. I can't remember exactly what it was. They had an injured player to start the season. Sounds similar. And then they got healthy and they got better. In 2015-16 with Vogel, they started 0-3. They finished that season with their winning record. I believe it was 45-37. I, for some reason, just typed winning record in my notes and not the actual record itself. But that was the second time ago they started 0-3. They had a winning record. So you're like already like, oh, are we just throwing this out? In 2009-10, they started 0-3. They did not finish that season very well. They went 32-50 that season. That's bad. That is, that's a bad season. In 1996-97, they started 0-3. They finished that season 39-43. That's a losing record. That's not good. That's still like okay. That actually would be above the Vegas win projections for this Pacers team. And in 1993-94, they started 0-3, and they went 47-35. So 3 of their last 5 times doing this, they finished with a winning record. I bring that up to say, yeah, obviously they have not played well. Obviously losing 3 times is better than is better. Obviously losing 3 times is worse than any other group of results from 3 games. 1 win, 2 wins, 3 wins. It's worse. They did not win a single time. But it's like, come on, give me a break. It's 3 games, and it's totally recoverable. Last year's Pacers, who started terrible, won their first game. They were in Detroit. They won. That was great. And then they lost their next 3. They pulled out a miracle one against Boston and lost again. They were 2-4, right? But they started 1-3. The Pacers could very well be 1-3 if they win against a Dallas team that hasn't looked particularly awesome yet. They looked okay in their win today. Their defense is pretty good. I'm not saying that's an easy game, to be clear. But last year's team lost 3 in a row in their first 4 games. Last year's team that stunk to start the season, to be clear, lost 3 in a row right before Thanksgiving. They lost 4 in a row at the end of November. And when they were good, albeit without Tyrese Haliburton, a key part of the current reality, they lost 3 in a row in Atlanta, Chicago on March 8th through 11th. But that team, March 6th through 10th. But that team last year, even without Ty, could have won against the Bulls and Hawks, right? Even good teams lose sometimes. And that's not to say that this Pacers team is a guarantee to be good this year. I'm just saying it's only 3 games. So I think that the same thing I said yesterday of the pessimist-optimist take still exists, where, of course, the pessimism is they're losing. And maybe not in this Minnesota game. They very rarely were like terrible in this game, but in every game, they've had some stretches where you're like, yeah, look at that. Like this team could win. I have that in my notes for this game even. I keep wanting to type it down so much, but like in this one, oh man, I can't find it. I got to do better with organizing my notes. Oh, Here it is. They were up 63-61. I said they're only up 2, but some stretch of this game so far where they look really good, right? And they also had some stretches that look really bad, like the rest of that third quarter after that note, basically, right? Every game outside, like early third quarter in Memphis, they were winning the first quarter in Memphis, where it's like, yeah, they look good. And then some stretches they look really bad. And so the optimist take is like, well, that's great. Once they get healthy, they'll apply those things with a better roster and be good. The pessimist take is like they're losing. They're playing bad a lot. And then there's reality in between where it's like maybe this is the best time for everybody to get hurt because their schedule's hard anyway, and it's not actually going to change the results that much. So like I say all this to say they are not playing well. But my take would be, can we just chill? Like, can we just get 10 to 15? It's even going to be hard given their schedule to do this then. But can we get 10 to 15 games in before we say they're obviously tanking? No, they're not, guys. No, they're not. They've just lost 3 games to good teams. They're really hurt. Obi Toppin got hurt in this game, and somebody tweeted at me. They said, it's very clear what they're doing. What are they doing? They're taking a limping player off the floor? Yeah. Chill. Everybody relax. And I'm not even saying that because I don't think they're playing. I'm not even saying that because I think they're playing better than fans or better than their record. It's just only been 3 games. If someone else really good if Pascal gets hurt, don't relax, right? If they lose to Brooklyn when they play Brooklyn, don't relax. If they get through 11 games and they're 1-10, don't relax. That's bad. That's all really bad. But like these 3 games with 2 very close ones and good pockets of successful stuff, let's take a deep breath. It's 0-3. It's bad. It's really bad to be 0-3. It's the worst record in the league. It's the worst you could be. But let's see. Obi Toppin got hurt. Quentin Jackson came back, and I want to talk about a question I got multiple of during the game about something the Memphis Grizzlies did roster-wise that people are like, wait, can the Pacers do this? I don't think they can, but maybe. We'll talk about it coming up to close out today's Locked On Pacers. But first, everybody, we got to talk about FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of a game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Everything that you might be gripped by, FanDuel's got it. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push or just playing in general. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. How about that? Win a $5 bet, $300 in bonus bets. Head to FanDuel.com. You can sign up, play your games with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. We're back here on Locked On Pacers. Thanks for making this your first listen today and every single day. Our second listen, Chauncey Billups and Terry Rozier arrested by the FBI. Big gambling probe. 3 people with NBA ties among the 30-something involved. There's poker games. There's a lot here. There's going to certainly be more. If Pablo Torres' Twitter feed is of note because he's certainly going to do a podcast on this soon. Check out Locked On Clippers and Locked On Heat for more nuanced discussions of those topics. Yikes for the NBA. Massive yikes for the NBA on that. I wish I had a platform to truly just dive into that, but it's really bad. It's really bad for the NBA. Okay, let's continue here. Obi Toppin got hurt in this game. I truly didn't even see what happened. Somebody tweeted, I can't remember who it was during the game, that he was limping, and then he went back to the locker room. And then I remember in the third quarter, because Pascal came in for him, thinking like, wait, that's not when Pascal came in with this group in the first half. And Pascal was playing so well that I just thought, oh, okay, that's probably it. That wasn't it. Obi Toppin left the game. They announced he was out for the rest of the night with a leg injury during the game. Let me find the official phrasing because I don't want to butcher anything. The official, man, I'm all over the place. Oh, Obi Toppin had right leg soreness and would not return, was the official note during the game. Then post-game, Rick Carlisle told Dustin Opierek that it's a hamstring injury. He was done for the day at that point. Bummer. They were at the scene of the crime where he was spectacular last year and won them a crazy overtime game. He was not playing like super awesome, 2 for 6, 1 for 3 from deep, but he had 6 rebounds. He was crushing the glass. He made all his free throws. They won his minutes by 5. He's still been their best center all season. Down he goes. Just what the Pacers needed. Another injury to one of their top 8 players from last year. Their top 3 bench guys from last year. Think of them off the top of your head. I guarantee every single one of you just said TJ McConnell, Ben Mathurin, and Obi Toppin. They're all out. 3 of their 5 starters from last year did not play in this game. One plays for the Bucks, 2 are injured, and their top 3 bench guys are out. Like 6 of their top 8 players from last season were unavailable once Toppin went down in this game. So again, I say all these things that I've said this podcast of like analyzing the team and their level and all this stuff. And it's like, what does it even matter? Like, what can you even take away from some of this stuff when that's the case? So first of all, keep that in mind. Toppin left the game. He only played 16 something minutes. However, you would think they might be in trouble at center. No. Tony Bradley was spectacular. We'll get to him at the end. But he was that was the best any Pacers center has played by far since preseason started, and including the regular season, of course. Tony Bradley was sensational. We'll get to that. Bad news to lose Obi Toppin because Obi Toppin's a good player. Their best lineup features him in the front court. They can't afford to lose him anyway, given their current front court situation. They can't afford to lose him now because the whole team is hurt. He's been initiating a few possessions, taking it across half court in Memphis. Even when he's missing, his pace, his threateningness from deep is still something that bends defenses and makes them move and gets them all messed up. And we'll see on severity. You never know. Obi Toppin has missed very little time with the Pacers. Quick healer, doesn't get hurt that much. That's all great, right? That all matters a lot when you think about how much time he could miss. But you also have to note this. I said this when McConnell got hurt in that same building with a hamstring injury. Muscle injuries do not just go away, right? It's going to be a thing. I don't think it will be nothing, even for the Dallas game, even if he plays. We'll see what comes of it. But Quentin Jackson had a hamstring injury in the OKC preseason game. He just came back in this game. Like that was 2 weeks in a day. I can't do math, right? I'm not saying Obi Toppin's going to be out that long. I don't know what the injury is, but muscle things never just go away immediately. They don't just wake up the next day and like, my muscles are great. So we will see what this actually is. But like Jackson came back today and barely played, right? I wondered when they said he was going to, he's going to play. Oh, maybe he'll start. No. Not only did he not start, he was their lowest minutes guy. Now, but on Wednesday, I bet you see more Quentin Jackson. He'll have 2 days to recover. He came back. He didn't do a whole lot. He made a 3, but 2 assists. It was fine. It was good to have another actual point guard available as the Pacers. So one guy in, it felt like a positive, and then Obi Toppin went out. So they're just dropping like flies. Aaron Nesmith, Pascal Siakam, and a bunch of guys they did not expect to be this important this fast. Their guards are Ben Shepherd, Quentin Jackson, and Ray J. Dennis, right? It's just tough. They need more from basically everybody who can initiate. Jarris has got to be a little better. Aaron Nesmith inside the arc in this game was 1 for 5. He missed 2 free throws. That never happens to him. They just need all their guards to just give them a little bit more. And that's hard with how limited they are. Okay, that is the injury update reality. We'll actually see with 2 days off if they can get any other guys back for Dallas, right? I don't know how Rick Carlisle's been very quiet about timelines this year, but with Mathurin and Nembhard and basically everybody but Cam Jones, McConnell, and Haliburton, I might be missing somebody else. You wonder if they could be available for Dallas. Furphy, we don't know how bad his seems to be. So keep an eye on this Wednesday game just because they actually have 2 days off, right? That's a day to recover and a day to test things in a practice setting. Okay, that is the injury latest. We're going to be doing a lot of injury latest podcast things. Last thing I want to say, something happened during the game that the Pacers played to the Grizzlies that actually got people asking me about the Pacers. So the Grizzlies did something that is super rare early in the season. Oh my gosh, I'm all over the place trying to find my notes for this. They signed a player, which is crazy because it's been less than a week of the season. They're signing Charles Bassey, a center who got cut by the Hawks in preseason, via, let me read the whole tweet, the hardship exception. It's a 10-day contract, a 10-day hardship contract. And that is because, as Shams notes in his tweet, Ty Jerome, Scottie Pippen Jr., Brandon Clark, and Zach Edey are sidelined for extended periods. He even uses that phrasing. The exact sentence from Shams is Grizzlies currently have Ty Jerome, Scottie Pippen Jr., Brandon Clark, and Zach Edey sidelined for extended periods, clearing the way for a 10-day hardship signing. So the Pacers have more injuries than the Grizzlies. More. I mean, maybe they're about the same. The Grizzlies have a bunch too. So the rules, so that happened, right? This Charles Bassey thing gets announced. And I immediately get questions like, oh, Tony, could the Pacers sign a hardship player, right? People keep asking if they need to cut a center to sign a guard now. Should they sign a guard now? All this stuff. Oh, could they just sign a hardship guard? And my answer to you listening is maybe, but I don't think so. Unless the severity for some injuries that we don't know about right now is much more serious. That actually is relevant. So 3 things have to be the case for a team to become eligible for a hardship 10-day contract. 1, they have to have 4 different players that have been out for 3 games. Check for the Pacers. They have 4 players who have been out for 3 games. 2, and by the way, 4 players out for 3 consecutive games. 2 is their 15-man roster has to be full. Check. Pacers have 15 players. Thing 3 is those 4 players have to be expected to be out for an amount of time going forward. The NBA bylaws aren't clear on this, but I've read posts that looked into it, and it's 2+ weeks is the belief. And so Haliburton fits that criteria. Potentially nobody else does, right? The reevaluation date that we've been given, Rick Carlisle said to ask about those players again, for TJ McConnell and Cam Jones is the 9th. Furphy was playing in their opener and was questionable 2 games ago. No, Nembhard, no severity known. Mathurin, no severity known. That's 5. Toppin, no severity known. That's 6. I'm still missing a guy. Dang. Regardless, of their many injuries, it's not presently clear if any of them or enough of them get them to having 4 players that will be out for the next 2 weeks, which actually stinks. They have so many concurrent injuries that they can't, but none of them are so severe that they can add a hardship player. Like if they were more severe, it could temporarily help them, but only temporarily. But obviously they'd prefer that they're shorter. They can get these players back. It's just for this exact situation, it may not be relevant. If the Pacers are granted a hardship exception and they assign a player, first of all, good timing. They could practice with the team in Dallas. But 2, that would suggest to me that 3 of their other injured players, I can't believe I'm missing someone in my head. 3 of their other injured players outside of Tyrese Haliburton are going to be out for an extended amount of time. But that's just their reality, right? They're that banged up. Who did I miss? I can't believe it. Talon Peter, duh. Talon Peter. We don't know about his severity either. So between Peter, Mathurin, Nembhard, McConnell, Jones, and Toppin, if any 3 of them are going to be out 2+ weeks, it is technically allowed for the Pacers to sign a hardship. Although Mathurin has only missed 1 game, right? So he would still have to miss 2 more games to fit the criteria. It has to be a player who's already missed 3 straight games. Does this make sense? So they're threading a needle that makes it really, really hard to know. But my interpretation of the rules is that the Pacers would not be eligible for this contract at this time. But keep an eye on this if other players get hurt or if other players are announced to have lengthy absences. And that is Pacers Wolves and the state of the Pacers. They do not play till Wednesday. So tomorrow will be probably just me on like a state of the team deal. And then Wednesday we'll do a show with somebody else about their early games. And then right back to it. Pacers Mavs Wednesday night as they conclude this early road trip. Hope you guys enjoyed today's show. Sorry for the new setup. Please let me know how this mic sounded. And if the camera, if you're watching on YouTube, was better. I can tell it's been more stable. I know it wobbles a lot when I'm touching my computer a bunch and it's the screen shaking. You can find me on social media at Tony R. East and this podcast at Locked On Pacers. We'll be back tomorrow talking more about this team. Till then, everybody have a wonderful day.